tee up Dallas. Still got a shot, you think?
The Hyman injury hurts quite a bit.
Okay.
So
Plenty.
I'm not going to say none.
Plenty more on the Real Kipper and Bourne Show on our special Leaf Hour edition. Back after these words. As a reminder, this hour of Real Kipper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. Nick Kiprios, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. Let's welcome in Luke Fox, Leaf and NHL writer for Sportsnet.ca. He followed Brad Treliving's media address today. He spoke for the first time since May 18th. The Leafs were eliminated. Luke, how are you? Thanks for joining us. Between Game 7, I guess, and today, it's 11 days. So certainly a lot of time to let a lot of things settled here. Do you think it helped set the tone for Brad Treliving today, those 11 days off?
Yeah, because it's kind of a funny timing. I can't remember when a GM spoke after the next round was already over. But it's far enough away from the pain of Game 7 that the emotions have passed. So he's not saying anything emotional when he takes the podium. And it's still far enough away from free agency where he can say, well, we're just starting to go through our process. We're meeting with our pro scouts. We're going to sit down and develop a plan. So it's kind of in that in-between stage. So he spoke because he did a scrum afterwards, he spoke for about 50 minutes. A lot of words were said. I don't know how much we learned. I think kind of the biggest thing I took away is some of the things he wasn't saying. Like, he wasn't saying we got to keep banging at the door. We got to betting on these guys. I think Tavares and Marner are so tremendous that I'm going to do everything in my power to keep them here. He didn't say anything like that. He wouldn't even guarantee that he would offer them an extension on paper. And part of that, I think, is the accumulated losses, 9 years now. And part of it is he only has so much say in the matter. Tavares and Marner have earned the right to take a little peek behind the curtain now.
Yeah, absolutely. Listening to that press conference today, it did feel like in the end, it was just kind of about a couple of guys, right? And I guess your thoughts on his tone today. Like, we talked a little bit on our show about not hearing a ton about culture or leadership necessarily. What were your thoughts on his tone of the day?
I thought it was pretty good. I mean, It was pretty even. I like that he admitted that something in the DNA has to change. I like that he was specific in terms of Game 5 against the Senators. We seem to have forgotten that one. That was a missed opportunity because in the end they got it done in 6, so you kind of give Game 5 a pass. But I like how he brought that up and the fact that they basically laid an egg in that game at home. I like the fact that he pointed to Game 3. They're up 2-0 and 3-1, have a chance to take a stranglehold. And then, of course, everyone felt Game 5 and Game 7. So I like how he singled out those moments. And the fact that there wasn't just one moment. You can't just sweep it under the rug and say, well, we didn't have it that night. No, there were multiple times where you had a chance to show the fan base and show the front office, show the decision makers, show Treliving that you have it within you to come through when the pressure's at its highest, when you have a chance to finish a team off, really put your boots to the opposition. And multiple times you didn't come through. So for him to say, oh, no, we'll learn from those scars, he didn't say that. He said we have to change the DNA of our team. And that may seem a little vague, but I don't think it's vague. I think it has to do with personnel.
The sense is right now with Brendan Shanahan gone, Luke, and no replacement for Brendan, that as big as of a staff that the Maple Leafs have in the various departments, it's really feels like it's coming down to two guys carrying the weight of what happens next with the Leafs in just Brad Treliving and Craig Berube. Is that the sense that you got today?
Yeah, for sure. And I got it from Pelly's conference last week too. It was really interesting how much the CEO was talking about the head coach and how he liked the the culture Berube set, and that he's going to really lean on Berube's counsel in addition to Trey Livings. It's rare to hear, someone that high, that close to ownership talk so much directly about how much he wants the head coach involved. And maybe that's a function of, Pelly being a bit of a soccer guy and over in Europe, the head coach has maybe a little bit more sway than maybe the NHL. But now there's a direct line. And today it was interesting kind of Trey Living saying, I'm still got to develop that relationship because, I'm sure he had a nice, friendly relationship with Pelly, but most of his conversations would be through Shanahan and then down to Berube. He probably wasn't working directly with Pelly all that much. And now that's his direct boss, a guy who didn't hire him. And Trey Living's on the clock here, right? He only has 2 more years left on his contract, and he's in a really tight spot. He's probably going to let his highest scorer, a guy who put up 102 points in the regular season, walk out the door for nothing. Maybe you can pull a Jake Gensel and salvage a 3rd-round pick or something. But then you got to somehow make up all that scoring by committee. And in a pretty thin free agent class, when you've spent kind of some of your best trade chips already, talking to scouts, they kind of say Easton Cowan would be better served having a year with the Marlies and not jumping right up with the big boys. So he's in a really tight summer, and all of a sudden, all eyes are on him, just the way they were on Shanahan last season and Dubas the year before that.
It's funny, it doesn't take long around here, particularly when heartbreaking losses accumulate. Away from those couple of guys that we talked the most about, I did get the sense that he wanted a defenseman that could move the puck up the ice a little bit more. He talked a little bit more about volume coming from the back end, and he also talked about Matthew Nyes. Give us your thoughts on the non-Marner and the non-Tavares conversations that Tree Living had today.
Yeah, I'll start with Nyes, and he was very definitive in that I want this guy as soon as possible.
Yeah,
and he used the old joke, and I've heard him say it before. The only 2 issues are money and term. But talking with Nyes all season long, like the guy loves it here. He is, for the youngest guy on the team, he's like this close for me to wearing a letter. I love that Florida game. Yeah. When right in the regular season, when he called them out for being soft, and then the very next game in Tampa Bay, he was the best player on the ice. Like, I love that 2-game segment for Matthew Nyes. I was like, this guy is one of the most mature guys on the whole team. He's willing to call it like it is, and then he's willing to go out and back his words up. So when I talk to him and he talks about his love for Toronto, and he scoffed at a reporter's question about an offer sheet, I have no doubt they're going to get something done. I think the big question is what works best is bridge or long term, and I think that will be impacted by who they chase in free agency, but they'll make it work. I wouldn't worry about Nyes. The defense is fascinating, Borny, because they have 7 NHL-level guys under contract already, if you include Philip Myers. And their defense was pretty good. But their defense is getting older. And it's funny, it's now become a little bit one note. There's a lot of toughness, a lot of size, a lot of guys willing to block shots. But, they're not generating. You're not seeing guys. You don't see a Thomas Harley. You don't see a Evan Bouchard. And Morgan Riley lost a step. And I don't know if there's reason to believe he's going to find that step over the summer. So it is an area that Trey Living's going to look at, and he admitted to that. I just think there's so many holes up front that forward has to be the priority because they're losing bodies.
Morgan Riley has years left on his contract. He's also got a no move.